Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your Thursday. Typically, we do begin our shows talking all about the weekend planner and some of the fun things that you can expect to participate in during the weekend, but we actually want to get ahead of some of the top stories of today, so we're going to begin our countdown of those top 8 stories, and one of them really has to deal with the extended Labor Day weekend that we are so excited to get going for, but for people that are probably going to be leaving West Michigan or traveling, you probably want to pay attention to what's going on US 131, and that is why actually where we begin our countdown today. And we are now being joined live by our very own Tessa Kresh. Tessa, thank you so much for joining us today. Where are you at right now? What are you kind of seeing as it relates to kind of what happened earlier this week on US 131?
Yeah, well, right now I am on Division. This is one of the routes that many people are taking to avoid 131, as a big portion of it is shut down right now. Life BMS is passing. But as you can see, this is what we're looking at 1 p.m. on a Thursday. Typically, people are at work at this time, but right now, Street, that's about where Tanger Outlets is in Kent County, all the way to 142nd Street and 142nd Avenue, in Allegan County is just completely shut down. So anybody who is driving southbound on those roads is diverted over to either Division, where I am right now, or over to Clyde Park. So yeah, it's pretty messy out here. A lot of people are out here. I think the
Second story of the day actually today, and that is the fact that a driver has actually died after being involved in a fiery crash along M6 Wednesday evening. The crash happened around 5:40 along M6, just east of Broadmoor Avenue. Michigan State Police say the driver, who has only been identified as a 63-year-old Grand Rapids man, was heading west along M6 when his vehicle left the roadway and hit a pole. Another driver who was passing by saw the crash and pulled over to assist, but a second driver was actually able to pull the man from their car, and as that first car had actually started to catch on fire. It was a very scary scene out there. The man was taken to a nearby hospital where he was later pronounced dead. Troopers are continuing to investigate the crash at this time. And sticking with the roads now, the Michigan Department of Transportation has their work cut out for them as they try to fix a stretch of US 131 ahead of, this is the wrong story. I apologize to everybody. This is actually a new story. Our third story of the day actually revolves around court records that recently showed that the former Michigan State Representative Jewel Jones was arrested this week after he was found with 2 concealed guns inside a Saginaw hospital. This is file footage of the former state representative. WJRT-TV was the first to break the story. Saginaw police told the news outlet that Jones was at a Covenant healthcare facility late Monday when an employee noticed that Jones had a gun. Police then discovered Jones had 2 guns on him, actually, one in his hoodie pocket and another, which was listed as an MP5 submachine gun, in his backpack. According to reports, Jones had claimed that he was acting as a bodyguard for a religious leader at the hospital. He now faces 4 criminal charges, including 2 felony counts of carrying a concealed weapon. Michigan residents are allowed to carry concealed weapons, of course, but they are still prohibited in certain places like sports arenas, schools, and hospitals. Jones was first elected to the State House in 2016 and was the youngest person ever to serve in the Michigan House. He served 3 terms before being forced to vacate his seat due to term limits in 2022. Michigan State Police trooper was arrested this week on criminal charges related to testimony that he gave during his wife's drunk driving trial. Charles Sears-Patowski was arrested Tuesday and now faces 1 count of perjury and another for obstructing justice. The criminal charges were actually filed back in March, and an arrest warrant was filed on Monday. This all stems from the drunk driving trial of the trooper's wife, Abigail Sears-Patowski. She was found guilty of driving under the influence and causing a serious crash in 2023. Prosecutors then accused Charles Sears-Patowski of lying under oath and abusing his position as an MSP trooper. Assistant Prosecutor Kyle Atwood called out specific details in his testimony, including when Sears-Patowski told another deputy that his wife had not been drinking prior to that crash. The judge in the case declared it perjured testimony directly from the bench. The United States Coast Guard had to make another dramatic rescue mission along Lake Michigan this week. A helicopter crew from the Traverse City Air Station was summoned to the Frankfort North Pier late Sunday after 4 people became trapped by the rising waves. Those in need of rescue were 2 fishermen and a 14-year-old girl and her father. They were all trapped toward the end of the pier after waves picked up and made it too dangerous to return. Officials say that the height of the waves did not change, but that the amount of waves crashing into the pier is what made them so dangerous. The Coast Guard actually measured the sea spray at about 30 feet. The helicopter crew then proceeded to the pier to rescue the 4 individuals. They were able to bring them all back to shore safely. The Coast Guard is now using this rescue as a reminder to everyone about just how quickly conditions can change out on Lake Michigan. Well, after 33 days and 411 miles, a memorial swim that set out to complete the journey of the Edmund Fitzgerald has made it to Detroit. The Edmund Fitzgerald Memorial Swim kicked off back on July 26 with swimmers gathering at the site of the shipwreck. Since then, the group of about 70 swimmers attempted to finish the planned trek of the ship and end in Detroit. It was on Wednesday that 4 of the 70 swimmers had completed the last 5 miles and made it to the Detroit Yacht Club. The event was held to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the ship sinking in November of 1975. The group is counting their blessings after having made it to the end. They had to deal with boat issues, storms, and poor air quality, and now a memorial service is scheduled for this week to not only celebrate those who finished the swim, but also those who lost their lives on the Edmund Fitzgerald. You can learn more about the memorial swim right now by checking out our story on woodtv.com. And we're so excited for Sundays this fall with the return of the NFL season and also your Detroit Lions. But there is one player with a different kind of Sunday on their mind. Rookie wide receiver and former Unity Christian star Isaac TeSlaa has a brand new frozen treat for those in Jamestown Township to enjoy. The Little Dipper Cafe and Ice Cream Shop partnered with TeSlaa to have him make his own sundae, and he agreed. You can actually now get the Open on Sunday, appropriately named, which includes coffee, caramel, and brownies. TeSlaa is said to have came up with the name all on his own, as well as the toppings that he wanted to add to this specific treat. The owners of the Little Dipper say that the sundae is here to stay on the menu all season long. And speaking of football, we end things today with the kickoff to the high school football season. Football Frenzy is back starting tonight, and there are some incredible matchups happening over the next 2 days. Our Daybreak crew got things going very early Thursday, as you can see, over at Granville High School. As part of the tailgate festivities, the students were tasked with bringing in food donations that will then be donated to local food pantries to help those in the community. And if that wasn't enough to get you in the mood for Football Frenzy, well, don't worry, because we'll also be covering all of those top football games happening over the next 2 nights, including some pretty big names facing off to start off the 2025 campaign. We'll have the full amount of totals of the food that was donated from those Granville students later on today on News 8, and also be sure to tune in later tonight, both tonight and tomorrow, because we are going to have scores and highlights from some of the top games all across West Michigan. And those are your top 8 stories of the day. As a reminder to everybody, more information on each one of these stories, as well as everything going on in and around West Michigan, can be found right now over on our website, woodtv.com, including the latest on that US 131 redevelopment going on after that crash earlier this week with that semi-truck. Tessa, again, going to have the latest for us coming up later on today. We are going to be taking a quick break now on the Daily, and when we return, we will be talking all about the weekend planner. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everyone, to the Daily 8 on Wood TV. Plus, we once again want to apologize for some of the technical difficulties we had in our first block, but everything seems to be working fine now, and just in time, too, because, of course, it is Weekend Planner Day here at News 8. There are tons of fun things to be had all across West Michigan with your extra time off today, including something that's actually happening on Labor Day. Yes, this upcoming Monday, the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Foundation is hosting a Greatest Generation celebration. They have so much going on, not just on the actual Labor Day, but also throughout the rest of the week, including speakers, parades, a flyover, everything. We were lucky enough to be joined by two members of the foundation to talk all about what's in store for everybody. Let's take a listen now. Brian, Joel, thank you both so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it in anticipation for the Greatest Generation celebration happening over at the Ford Museum. It all kicks off on Labor Day, giving us plenty of time to really get excited about everything. I can't imagine everything that's kind of gone in with the planning and now execution of everything getting ready for the actual celebration. How have things been kind of going, leading up into Labor Day?
Well, this has been a 1 year. Your answer to your question is 1 year. We've been planning this for a year. August 14th of 2024 is when we kicked off the planning for this. And it's a week-long celebration of the Greatest Generation. There's just a massive host of events. It was a lot of work, and it still continues to be a lot of work in making sure this all goes off very smoothly and people really enjoy the week.
Right. And Brian, kind of that same question. Leading up into this, I can imagine a lot of things have kind of taken shape. Maybe you guys have had to make some adjustments here and there. But as far as just getting everything right, you guys feel ready for what's coming up starting on Monday.
I think we do. I think in total we have somewhere around 20 committee members that have just worked feverishly, especially like within the last few months. We held off a number of things like finding our Greatest Generation folks out there. We're looking for people that are over 98 years old to be participants in this parade, and naturally, things change when you're 98. So that was a big push in the last month, and we have one person, Lou Paletta, who has just been amazing, reaching out to find those Greatest Generation folks. Vintage cars from the era, right? The 1945, so anything built 41 prior, to find those vehicles out there is getting more difficult. So we're leaning on the Gilmore Car Museum a bit, and reaching out to car clubs and that sort of thing. And I think we've got something like 30 to date, Joel, right?
More than 30.
And
also I'll add in here, it takes more than just like a hard work to make this thing possible. It takes money. Right. And our committee with Kathy Cooper and Brian here and a couple of others, Greg Meyer, worked feverishly at raising funds for this. And we've pulled in some major sponsors for all this. You look at Meyer, LMCU, the Air Zoo, the Ford Museum, the Gerald R. Ford Foundation, and many, many others all contributed to make this possible. Because World War II planes, they cost money to fly over the entire state of Michigan.
Right. I can imagine. Before we get a little bit further into just what you guys do have planned, because there is quite a bit going into these events, and I really want to shed as much light as possible so people can get just as excited as we are here at News 8 about them. But let's first define the Greatest Generation. I feel like people really have been kind of hearing that phrase, that turn of phrase, for years and years now. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page about what exactly and who really is the Greatest Generation.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier people that are 98 plus, and there's a distinction because oftentimes people think of the Greatest Generation maybe as people that old, but as veterans. Right. And those people are extremely important to the war effort, probably the most important. But keep in mind that there was that same generation from 98 plus was left at home. And they had to support the war effort through manufacturing of all of the equipment that was required in the Pacific Theater, the European Theater of Operations. So it was a massive effort, converting all of the, these auto manufacturers over to manufacture airplanes and Jeeps and tanks and so on and so forth. And Michigan played an extremely big role in that. And so we have right here in Michigan. Many of those, Rosie the Riveters. And hey, by the way, you just saw my grandfather up there, a member of the Greatest Generation. He was 32 years old and a full colonel, chief of intelligence of operations under General Dwight D. Eisenhower in World War II. Do you know many 32-year-olds today that could handle that kind of role?
No, not at all. I'm almost 32, and if you asked me to do that, I would be hard-pressed to build up the courage.
So these were people, Phil, that stood up and they just pushed themselves beyond what they were comfortable with.
Right.
Yeah, understand that these people, who fought in the war, and not only not fought, but whether the Rosie the Riveters, the people supporting the war effort from home, they had just come out of a decade of the Great Depression.
Right.
And all the suffering and all the they were just. It was the hardships that they had to encounter, first with a decade of a depression and then a global war. And this is kind of a way for us to say thank you one last time. This is the very last time anybody will be left alive, and that's why we decided to do an 80th. We did the 75th 5 years ago, and that was great. But of course, that got a lot of that got scuppered because of that pandemic thing.
Right. That old thing.
And that whole thing, and it really, but even still, even 5 years ago, Grand Rapids, and that's why I'm so proud of kind of where I've landed my career in coming from Milwaukee and then living in Washington, D.C. and working for the military for most of my career. Why I've landed in Grand Rapids is because this area is so patriotic. And Grand Rapids 5 years ago held the largest celebration of the 75th in the entire country. Outside of Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was a little larger than ours, and we're hoping to do that again. That's what we really wanted to do that again for the 80th. I've been here listening around the country on who else is doing this, and I really haven't found anybody. I really haven't found any kind of major 80th celebration at all. And I think we're going to put on the biggest in the country, and I really want that to be true.
Right, absolutely. And when you hear that, just knowing that you guys could very well be doing it bigger than any other place in the U.S., really honoring this generation of heroes, truly. What kind of comes to mind when you think about that, knowing that Grand Rapids really might be the epicenter of this celebration for people across the country to really admire and once again honor those and kind of remember that generation once again?
Should we really be surprised that it's Grand Rapids putting this on? I'm not so sure. Again, when I've landed here, just the amount of patriotism and love of country and understanding, what our parents and our grandparents have all tried to do in their lives, whether to support us as children or to just simply give us and instill in us the faith and an understanding of what it takes to move a country forward.
Yeah, and Joel, you just talked about faith. So we have rolled in a couple of things. One is bell ringing at 8:08 p.m. on the 1st, and that will signify the time in which the Instrument of Surrender was signed in Tokyo Bay back in 1945. So if you hear the bells going off around downtown, you'll know why, because that's 9:08 a.m. on the 2nd of September in Japan. The other thing is we have a convocation at the Cathedral of St. Andrews, and we have several religious leaders from the community that will be presiding over that. The 2nd at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. So we are bringing, we feel it's safe to bring in religion because religion was a big part of, what the country was back in those days, and hope to bring that back to life. It's an important part of what these men and women went through, especially the men that were fighting overseas. They had their Bibles with them, and they prayed a lot to get through it. Yeah,
and again, if religion is just simply not your thing, and we have other events that we like at that same time, we have Greatest Generation Night at the ballpark. We have a ball cap giveaway. It's Greatest Generation Night at LMCU Park, where there'll be events going on at that particular place as well. And then we've got a host of other events going on throughout the entire week. We have a World War II Film Festival at Studio Park at Celebration Cinema downtown. We have free popcorn for that, so come on down for that. We've got 4 movies we're going to be showing from that Friday evening through Sunday. We've got a massive lineup of of lecturers that are happening throughout the entire week, starting with at the JW Marriott on the afternoon of the 2nd of September. That's a free open to public event. We have Rick Atkinson, the famed historian Rick Atkinson, celebrated for his work on World War II, as well as the American Revolution. September 3rd at the Howenstein Center at GVSU. We've got Garrett Graff, a big name, a Pulitzer Prize finalist there. And then, of course, on September 4th, we've got the granddaughter of President Eisenhower, Susan Eisenhower, at the Ford Museum that night, talking about not only the Greatest Generation, but what the generation meant for her, as well as what that generation meant for her grandfather, the President of the United States, Dwight D. Eisenhower. It's just a bunch of stuff going on, and we're just thrilled that we're putting all this on. But it takes a lot of work.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I can imagine. I'm glad you both kind of mentioned just some of the amazing things that people are going to be able to participate in and get to enjoy during this more than week-long celebration that all really kicks off on Labor Day. We do have more links for everybody that wants to see that full itinerary right now over on our website, woodtv.com. But Joel and Brian, really got to ask about when you guys were kind of coming up with this itinerary and really trying to plan out, what are the best ways to not only honor those in the Greatest Generation, but also invite the community to have some fun and really just, again, immortalize this generation for what very well could be maybe the last time that some of these people are able to get out of the house and really kind of participate with the community themselves. I mean, how did you guys kind of balance that, though, of trying to make it as educational and maybe as straightforward as possible, but then also kind of giving those extra little bits of fun to everybody?
Well, the flyover we had, it was a major success back in 2020. So we knew we wanted to do the flyover, but Brian came up with the parade.
Yeah, and I think back to, we had the picture of my grandfather up earlier. He was born in 1912, and at about the age of, I think it was 8 or 10, he was escorting a Civil War veteran here in Grand Rapids around town. And that left an indelible mark on him and his life. And, people often ask me, gosh, why was Ralph Howenstein so successful in his life? Everything he touched turned into gold. The goldfish cracker, right? He invented that goldfish cracker. So, a lot of that had to do with the fact that he recognized the sacrifices that those gentlemen that he toured in Grand Rapids. So that's why we're bringing in the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Daughters of the American Revolution to bridge that gap. They, this younger generation doesn't know anything about World War II, quite frankly.
And Civil War, as I mentioned, Brian mentions the Civil War. Everybody knows I'm the deputy director of the Gerald R. Ford Museum. And back in 2019, how this all got started was there was a government shutdown, and I was laid off. I was at home doing nothing. And I just was bored, and I happened to be watching a documentary from our Michigan's own Ken Burns on the Civil War. In that very first episode, it shows the 75th anniversary of the end of the Civil War that FDR put on in Washington. And I thought to myself, well, who's doing that for the Greatest Generation? And it turned out it was nobody. No one was doing it. And so that's kind of how the whole genesis began back in 2019 in my man cave, in my basement, to think like, okay, what do we need to do to make this happen? How do we pull this off? And that started back in 2019. We did the big 2020, but the pandemic really put put a lot of that on the back burner. We couldn't do a lot of the big events like we really wanted to do. And then when we thought, okay, we're going to do an 80th, because this is going to be the last time any of you are left alive, it was a big team effort between myself and Brian and a lot of people on. It was actually the person who thought of the film festival. It wasn't anybody. It was actually back in 2020. I invited Hank Meyer. Hank Meyer is my honorary chairman. And it was Hank Meyer in our very first meeting. We're all talking about what are we going to do August 14th, 2024. What are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And it was Hank Meyer who actually said, well, have you thought of a World War II film festival? And we're like, no, Hank, we haven't. That's a great idea. We're going to do that. And so that's kind of how the film festival came about. It was actually Hank Meyer's idea.
Yeah, no, incredible just how many different ways that this is all kind of shaped into what is going to be an awesome time coming up starting on Labor Day. We are so very excited about it. Joel, Brian, before we let you go, though, obviously a lot has gone into planning for this, and you want everybody to take something away. But what is that? Whether they are part of the greatest generation and they are getting that chance to, once again, feel the love that people in the community really have for that generation, and maybe even look back at what it was like kind of growing up in that period, or even if it's just people maybe in the younger generations who maybe don't necessarily understand what this generation really went through. I mean, what do you hope that people of all ages really get out of this?
Yes, two things.
Yes.
2 words: honor and respect. Right? Come down, enjoy the parade, remember what the sacrifices those folks made for us. And I am sure that anybody that is going to be there on parade day to see the flyover will remember this day throughout the rest of their lives.
You'll never
No
see
doubt.
and you'll never see another parade like this again ever. It's again a 1945 era parade. It is going to look like a parade that literally would have happened in 1945. Other than to add on what Brian had already said about the honor and respect, I'm going to add in, go to our webpage, ggcelebration.org. I understand that there is a massive ton of events there. I understand that everybody probably can't attend all of them, but really come out for the parade. Come out in the morning. It starts at 10:30 downtown. The parade map is available as well. Come out, enjoy the parade, and then go home with your family and barbecue later on in the day. That's what most people do on Labor Day anyways. And so we're just asking to spend half an hour with us downtown, helping us honor one last time these people who literally sacrificed everything for our future. You know, I mean, their kids went to the moon. You know, and we are the follow-on for that. So just pay attention to what's going on. Come out to the parade, enjoy the flyover, then go have a nice barbecue with the family.
All right, awesome stuff. Well, Joel, Brian, again, thank you both so much for being here today. We're looking forward to it. And again, everybody, if you've got more questions or you just want to check out what's in store, just head on over to our website. We've got links to their website, and you'll be able to check out the full itinerary right now on woodtv.com. Brian and Joel, one last time, thank you both so much for being here today. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Of course. And appreciate the time from Brian and Joel. And look who's here now. It is Zach Avery to talk a little bit more about this week's weekend planner. Zach, you know, obviously just heard about the Greatest Generation celebration. That looks to be like a pretty awesome time. Again, perfect way to really kick off next week. Everything really beginning on Labor Day. So that's a lot of fun. But let's focus now to this upcoming weekend with a couple of events that I think are perfect to kind of have a little bit of back and forth conversation about, because they are going to be a lot of fun. Let's start off with Grand Con. Zach, I know we talked about it a little bit in your introductory interview here on the digital desk that, you know, you're pretty into tabletop games and gaming in general. You know, as far as Grand Con goes, this is going to be perfect for people kind of like that who also have an appreciation for that sort of thing.
Absolutely. You know, growing up in the Grand Rapids area, I'm very familiar with Grand Con.
Right.
This is their 11th year holding this event at the DeVos Place. All weekend long, you can try out different board games or tabletop role-playing games. They have a game library, so if you show up and you're not really sure what to play, you're welcome to grab a game and try it out with your friends or family. Should be a lot of fun if you're looking for something to do all weekend long.
Absolutely. And, you know, you can maybe find that new game that you've been kind of looking out for, because I've found it to be, you know, kind of browsing through the aisles at some stores. You know, you're like, oh, do I know if I want to play that game? Do I want to buy that game and maybe not end up not liking it? This is kind of the perfect way to test out some of those games too, and kind of get a feel for it and then bring them on home too.
Of course, yeah. You know, board gaming can become a very expensive hobby if you get really into it. So it's best to try some things for free, just demo and see which games you like and might want to bring home.
Absolutely. And another event that I want to talk about, because I, frankly, as soon as I saw this, I had to add it to the weekend planner. It is the Shrek Double XL Rave that is going on at GLC Live at 20 Monroe this weekend. I personally love the Shrek movies. Don't know much about having a Shrek Rave, though. Can you tell us a little bit about that from what you were able to find out about it?
Right, yeah. So this party is Saturday night, and tickets start at $31, so they're very limited. This is apparently a very popular event.
I can imagine, right?
Right. Yeah, I too am a big fan of the movies, and this is a whole night celebrating that film franchise, which with lots of fun music and costumes sort of recommended. You'll see a lot of people dressed up as their favorite Shrek characters. So if you remember those movies fondly, this might be the event for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I don't know if I would want to go full, green body paint and everything like that, dressing up like Shrek. But,
Sure.
Maybe like the gingerbread, maybe Pinocchio, maybe something like that might be a little bit easier to pull off.
I could imagine someone dressed up as Farquaad and just like on their knees the whole time because he's only yay high. But, it should be a fun time.
I think if you bought that costume, though, you'd have to find another way to put it on. I don't think that's like a one-off costume. You'd have to wait for the next Shrek rave, probably.
That's true, yeah.
Do you have a favorite Shrek movie? I was actually talking about this with a couple of my buddies the other day, just about, how we kind of rated the 4 films that are already out. I mean, do you have a favorite one that always sticks out to you?
I love the original. I think you can't mess with the classic. And it's a great movie for lots of reasons. It's just so much fun.
Absolutely. All right. Well, awesome stuff. Well, Zach, again, always appreciate you stopping by. It was a quick one today, but always appreciate the time. We'll see you again next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, everybody. We still have a lot more weekend planner content coming up in just a bit. We've got 2 more interviews for 2 more awesome events that we'll get to in just a little bit at the end of this break. We'll see you in just a few minutes. And welcome back, everyone, to the Daily 8. Like I said, we still have a lot more content from this week's Weekend Planner. The full Weekend Planner can be found right now over on our website, though, woodtv.com. If you are still looking for something fun to do, we even have a specialty list of Labor Day themed events if maybe you're looking to celebrate the holiday a little bit more appropriately. But we also have tons of more fun things to get to, including something that's kicking off the weekend. It's over at Wealthy Theater this Friday. The Stolen Stool is presenting a full local comedy showcase from comedians based here in the state of Michigan. They're all going to be gathering, putting on an incredible show. Joseph Johnson from the Stolen Stool was kind enough to join me earlier this week to talk about what to expect and also the importance of having events like this. Joseph, thank you so much for joining us today, my friend. We are so looking forward to the Stolen Stools comedy showcase that is coming to the Wealthy Theater this Friday night. A lot going into it. It's going to be a big night for you guys, as I can imagine. How are the nerves, I guess, kind of feeling right now? Kind of just getting everything, last minute things, getting everything ready for Friday.
Oh, it's been nerves the entire time. I mean, I'm basically just a big ball of anxiety at any point of my life. But this has been good. I like getting closer to the show, like having it be, because when it's far away, there's always a chance that big things could go wrong, like the building could burn down, or like I could, fall down the stairs or whatever, and just really ruin it going up. But now only small things can go wrong, like the building could burn down, or it's a lot less pressure once you get close to it. Plus, when he gets close, that's when people actually buy tickets to local events, in my experience.
Mm-hmm. Right, absolutely. Well, hopefully nothing like that does happen, and hopefully everything goes well on Friday night. You not only are you actually going to be producing this show, but you're also going to be performing. This is a showcase for a lot of local acts to all come together and perform for a crowd Friday night. Before we get into the event itself, though, I want to spend a little bit of time getting to know you a bit better. I mean, how did you really first get started doing stand-up comedy?
I started when I was 16. Wow. I found a couple. I'm from a small town called Berrien Springs, and there was some local touring comedians that came and did the Wolf's Prairie Pub downtown Berrien Springs, and I just kind of walked in and asked if I could do it. I went up. I talked for 7 whole minutes, and the microphone was about 3 feet from my face. No one heard a word I said, and I was hooked. Yeah, 0 laughs. Silence the entire time.
Not
And
even
then
a pity laugh? You were 16. You didn't get even a pity laugh from somebody?
No, I was a very unlikable child. I think I might have gotten a couple of laughs because they were scared of what I might do, but
Right.
yeah, it was very creepy looking, wide-eyed. Like, took me a
That
while
did
to
kind
get
of
him to be funny.
Right, but that did kind of, start this whole career that you've made for yourself now, and really just a passion that you've kind of consistently built upon. And now you're hosting, the show at Wealthy Theater on Friday. I guess, what is it about stand-up comedy that you really love, or what was it about that first time you stepped on stage that really got you hooked?
Well, I guess the biggest reason is I've always been like I've tried to be an artist, but I'm not talented. Uh, so comedy is kind of like the blue collar-ish version of art you can find. Just basically, you can't get good very quickly, in my opinion. It takes like years, decades even to get fine. So it's just like you just show up, you start digging the same hole every day until eventually either you're good enough or you're 45 and you quit.
Yeah, no, that's the only way it could possibly go. Let's shift now over to the actual show that's happening on Friday, Joseph. Like I touched on a little bit earlier, it's kind of a unique comedy showcase because you guys are only going to be having Michigan comedians take the stage. Some local favorites I'm sure that people have maybe seen before. They're going to be all up on stage throughout the night. Why was this something in particular that you thought would be perfect to bring to Wealthy Theater? Inviting all these local comedians, giving them a platform, and inviting really the rest of the community to come check them out.
Well, I really think that the Grand Rapids scene has something special. Like Grand Rapids, West Michigan, like we're something about this area is that our open mic like sets and stuff are a little bit longer than places in other parts of the country that I've seen. Like in big cities, sets are usually 3 to 5 minutes, 5 minutes being the high end of it. But here it's like 7 to 10 usually. And for some reason, I feel like that in that ecosystem for us, it works a lot better. And there's a lot of like very talented people that live around here that I have seen, and I realize the only really, I'm not the first one to think this, but the only way to like really get us out there is to just start taking these bigger swings at these larger shows. Like there's a big like cottage industry of like small time private shows that people do, like at something like private showcases and stuff. But I'm kind of trying to get into the world of like larger productions, trying to get as many eyes as possible on these talented people.
Mm-hmm. And who will be performing? I mean, who have you invited and who are actually going to be taking the stage? Outside of you, I know people have probably already, from watching this interview, kind of have you bookmarked as somebody they want to check out, but who else is going to be taking the stage this Friday?
Well, I can promise you they're a lot funnier than I am. There's some very, very great people. One of my favorite comedians in Grand Rapids, a hilarious guy named Ed DeVogue. He's been doing it for years. He's a dear friend of mine. Another guy named Joe. Needed to get that out of the way. We got Joe Elder. He's hilarious, great guy. We have Jackie Marpa. Always okay. I'm gonna keep. They're all great. I don't have to keep saying it every time. Dear friend of mine, Chase Richards, who actually him and I did Wealthy Theater several years ago. We did all this thing and invited every friend we knew, and somehow got it together at the end. Happy to have him back. And then we've got Richard Mathis. He's coming out of Battle Creek, but I've seen him just murder some amazing rooms. Brittany Devon, the hilarious. She's been putting shows around here very pretty regularly. Like she puts me to shame. Her work ethic is insane. Then we got it's hosted by Ben Bradshaw, my dear friend. He's really cool. Great mustache, good beard. What a guy. And yeah, I think I'm not missing any. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Well,
I
the full
should never
lineup
done my
is
own show, but
right.
what was
Yeah.
that?
Well, the full lineup is available right now over on our website, woodtv.com, for anybody that is curious about checking out that full lineup again. Joseph, though, you kind of briefly touched on it, kind of why you wanted to host this, just giving everybody kind of that platform and maybe taking those swings at bigger shows. And we had talked a little bit before this interview, even just, wanting to give light and shed light and support local arts and artists here in West Michigan. What do you really hope that people kind of get out of this event? Not just the people that are going to be taking the stage, but also the people that are in the audience and, laughing along to everything going on stage. I mean, what do you hope that they really, after the show is done, kind of go home and maybe think about a little bit more?
I like to think that they might realize that you don't need to spend $80 to have a good night of comedy. It's like a lot of the people that come into like the larger venues, like the Bosses and the 20 Monroes of them all, like some of those tickets are kind of outrageous. Uh, I mean, you're getting what you're paying for. They're good at what they do, but it's not always, you don't always have to do that, especially in these times of austerity. I mean, yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think generally I hope that people take from it that um, I mean, there are a lot of great comedians. Some of the funniest people I've ever met live in this area.
Hmm. And you might not even notice it, or you might not even know it until you actually go up to one of these shows. I mean, is enough reason to get people to maybe come on out to Wealthy Theater this Friday. But Joseph, I'm going to let you have the final word. For anybody that's maybe on the fence about showing up this Friday, what would you tell them to get them in a seat and actually enjoy everything that the Stolen Stool has to offer?
Well, I'm usually funnier when I'm the only thing people can hear. So if you want to see that, it's a very I won't be wearing this cardigan. It's cold in my house. We're doing our best. I think this will be one of the best shows I've like Grand Rapids has seen this summer. I mean, it's some just very hilarious professionals that are going to hopefully drag me and my poor excuse for an orator right past the finish line. Yeah, is that doing it? Yeah, you're not going to want to miss it. It's a fantastic group of people.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time for sure. And for anybody that is maybe looking at getting tickets, again, highly encourage you to check out our website. Check out this week's weekend planner. You'll find a link directly to that. Joseph, thank you so much for stopping by today. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course. And that's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of laughs are sure to be had, but something that's not a laughing matter is helping those with vision impairments. And that is exactly what this next event is striving to do. The Run for Sight is back again over at Pierre Marquette Park in Muskegon. Mary Freebed and the Association for Blindness and the Visually Impaired are teaming up once again to host the event. And there's some fun new things coming back to the race this time around. Let's take a listen as what you can expect this weekend with that. Tim, thank you so much for being here today. We really do appreciate it. Obviously getting excited for yet another Run for Sight 5K sponsored by Mary Freebed Rehabilitation Hospital. Is taking place this Saturday over at Pierre Marquette Park in Muskegon. It's the 19th time that this race has been happening to year. When you hear that number, what really comes to mind just about how I guess really the legacy behind having something like this here in West Michigan?
Right. I think that, the Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired started in 1913 to provide a way for education as well as training for individuals with blindness or low vision. And so I think to tackle a 5K that's inclusive and also, highlighting the fact that, everybody needs to get out and be working no matter what. And so this is just a great, not only a great legacy, but a great testimony to how we've incorporated, guided runner and guided walkers for this event from the very beginning, as well as adding in the last couple of years the hand cycle. So this is really designed to be a way to highlight what we do each and every day to create independence for individuals living with blindness and low vision.
Mm-hmm. And kind of on that same vein, Tim, I mean, how has this really grown and also really changed to fit the needs of those who not only want to run and help raise money in these races, but also those who really benefit from them? I mean, how has that really developed over these past 19 years?
We started out small with the idea and, tried it out, and it was very successful. There's a strong contingency in Muskegon that show up year after year for this event, as well as we have a low vision clinic in Muskegon. So this is a way for us to kind of branch out into the different regions where we are and bring what we do in a very visible way to the community. So we've been very excited how it's grown. Of course, the weather plays a big part for runners. They kind of look and gauge the weather and then decide if they're going to run or not. So the weather forecast is looking good. So we're hoping for really, yet again, another strong showing for this year.
And just so everybody knows, obviously this race does help raise money for the association for the blind and visually impaired. Tim, if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about that organization and also really that partnership between the association and Mary Free Bed to host something like Run for Sight.
In 2020, the Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired became an independent subsidiary of Mary Free Bed. And so, in that way, we partnered with a really strong partner for rehabilitation, not only here in Grand Rapids, but, throughout the country and throughout Michigan. Vision rehab therapy is not reimbursed through your normal insurance kind of payer format. We have to raise all the money to not only keep the program running, but to provide the services as well. So the events like these help us to then support the organization to continue doing its mission. And so, a vision rehab therapist may be out in the community helping someone learn how to use a white cane, or it might be working with someone in the office in one of our low vision clinics to help learn how to use a magnifier or to use some other independent living skills, such as how to fold your laundry so that you know that the clothing that you're wearing goes together, or how to cook a meal safely. So those are kind of things that we do each and every day that are very normal for us, very everyday for us, but they're also new to the people that are living with a new vision loss, or someone that is living with blindness, to find ways to be very independent in their neighborhood, in their community, in their school, or in their office. So our work, we don't want our work to be hindered by the fact that we don't receive insurance reimbursement, but at the same time, we need to find ways to raise the money in order to keep the program alive and moving.
And this event obviously doing a big part of that, also kind of sticking with this race and just what people can expect. You guys have also welcomed in, once again, the hand cycling 5K aspect to this race for this upcoming Saturday. How great is it, I guess, to welcome those hand cyclists back again and again open up this event for people of all different backgrounds and giving them the opportunity to compete and also just have fun on a Saturday?
Right. I think it's a very inclusive way to embrace the heart of the race. There are multiple 5Ks going on all over the state of Michigan. Just about every weekend in the summer, you can find a 5K to run in somewhere. But this is a little different in that we're really highlighting how an individual with vision loss or limb loss can be able to participate in this. It's very inclusive, and we want to have that intersection that's very alive for us every day. We want to highlight that in a well-known community, in a well-known area, so that we can be out there and kind of challenge some assumptions about what people can and can't do. We also have the walk, and then we have the kids dash that we added a couple of years ago. So all really successful pieces for this race, all coming together under one umbrella.
Absolutely. All right, Tim, final question I have for you. For anybody that maybe doesn't know if this is the right event for them, or if they don't know if they're going to have time to maybe squeeze in the Run for Sight this Saturday, what would you tell them to make sure that they do show up to Pierre Marquette Park in Muskegon and take part in just an awesome, awesome event for the 19th year?
There's always time to sign up. In fact, you can show up even on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. We'll be there to start registration. The race starts at 8:30 and it's a 5K, and then we have an award ceremony after that. So, it's really a short time commitment, but a great way to start your Labor Day weekend off and to participate and support a great organization.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Well, Tim, thank you so much for stopping by today. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Of course. And special thanks goes out to Tim once again for the insight into the Run for Sight that is taking place again this Saturday. Should be a fun time. If you do, again, want to check out anything and find something fun to do this weekend, just head on over to our website, woodtv.com. Check out this week's weekend planner. You're bound to find something there. We are going to be taking one last quick break here on the Daily 8, and when we return, Storm Team 8 meteorologist Scott Larson will be in to give us a look at what we can actually expect weather-wise for that Labor Day weekend. And welcome back, everyone, to the Daily 8. Phil Penarski here, once again joined by Storm Teammate meteorologist Scott Larson. Scott, we've kind of spent really the whole day kind of talking about Labor Day and just what people can do and hopefully, the traffic disruptions they might be feeling. But weather-wise, looking pretty nice out there, especially for the extended holiday.
Yeah, we've had the rain move through this morning, Phil, and beyond that, it really looks like we're going to have some nice weather setting up here for the holiday weekend. But there's the rainfall over the past 12 hours, and you can see that we had some streaks of decent amounts of accumulation, especially in Ionia, Kalamazoo, a couple of the spots which picked up on some of the isolated thunderstorms within that line. Grand Rapids, only a few hundredths of an inch, basically the same in Muskegon and Battle Creek. But this is the first time that we have had measurable rain in Grand Rapids since the 20th of the month, so officially that is over a week. But here's the latest update out of the drought monitor. It shows abnormally dry to moderately dry conditions. This doesn't tally today's rainfall, but some steps in the right direction here. We have been able to get rid of the severe drought, which had been in place by Holland, northwestern Allegan County. So again, we are continuing to make some strides in the right direction at removing some of the drought conditions out there. We'll get a look at Storm Track Live. It shows that that boundary continues to sink south. We do have a couple of storms still continuing at this moment as you move toward Three Rivers, Pokagon, Constantine, Ottawa, some of the spots receiving some rain right now. But the trend for this afternoon is for that rain to make its exit. And beyond that, really nice weather for the weekend.
Yeah, no, definitely. We had touched on, obviously, the drought monitor earlier this week and just kind of hoping that maybe some of the rain that we got last week would kind of help out with that. And glad to see that it actually did. Holland still in that kind of cautious area, but still, vast improvements.
Yep, some improvement there, and it looks like we were able to get another decent shot, at least for some spots today. Should have clearing this afternoon. It's going to be a beautiful Labor Day weekend, really mild, dry conditions expected. Still some cloud cover over Grand Rapids right now, but that should be vanishing through the second half of the day. Current temperature at 72, but that's probably about as warm as it gets. You can see that the wind is flipped around to the northwest behind that cold front, so that's going to start to work in some cooler air through this afternoon. Let's check out our temperatures now. 72 Ionia at 69 in Kalamazoo, 73 in Muskegon, and the wind is from the northwest. A little bit strong out there today. Could have some gusts upward of 20 miles per hour. So one thing to take note of is if you're going to be visiting the beach today, red flags are flying. Meteorologist Sarah Flynn's also going to have the full beach and boating forecast with a detailed look at the weekend later this afternoon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We always enjoy hearing from Sarah out by the water. And again, those water temperatures, I feel like it is kind of crazy just how quickly they, can kind of jump up and then also fall right back down when we do get a little bit of colder weather.
Yeah, I think those are going to be slipping down with that northwest wind and some of the cooler air that's going to be taking place here. But as we get into tomorrow, a high of 69. It's going to be really fall-like, mostly sunny. But as we go through the holiday weekend, we should be able to return to some more seasonable air. Upper 70s Sunday, right around 80 Monday through Wednesday. And those overnight lows, if you're going to be camping this weekend, a little cold.
Hey, maybe bring an extra sleeping bag or something.
Yeah, 46 for a couple nights in a row, and even Saturday night into Sunday, upper 40s then probably too.
But again, just an awesome weekend. I mean, Saturday through Monday, when people are going to be off and probably hopefully spending some time outside, I mean, you cannot beat that weather. Those temperatures, the partly cloudy skies, it's going to be awesome.
Not very humid, no chance of rain.
Exactly.
The wind pretty calm, so yeah, just about as good as it gets.
Can't beat it. All right, awesome. Well, Scott, thank you so much for stopping by. We always do appreciate it. And I do want to thank everybody so much for tuning into this latest edition of the Daily 8. We are off until next Tuesday, but we will see you again here on WOODTV Plus. Hopefully everybody has an awesome Labor Day weekend. This is Phil Penarski, and we will see you next time here on the Daily 8.